Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hit and Hustle from OurSportsDaily.com. I am your host, Greg Flammang, and with me, as always, is Jamie Uyeyama, Mr. Jamie University. It is Tuesday, February 17th, and we are going to talk some top 5 storylines going into spring practice. We've got a little bit of time till we get to spring practice, but there's storylines that are out there, and we can talk about them, and maybe they'll change by the time we get to spring ball, actual spring ball starting. Had a mock draft, just dropped, Jamie, from Daniel Jeremiah, who is very reputable in the industry. Malachi Fields, first round pick. He's got him.
Yeah, I saw that.
And this is things that he's hearing, not his own. That's the way he does it. It's like what he hears from people is how he puts it in. It's not his own top 50. So that's going to be interesting. We can talk a little bit about that, and then whatever else comes up in the chat. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. If you like what you hear, please hit that like, please hit subscribe, please hit the notification bell so you know whenever it is we are going live. And as always, the show is brought to you by ESQ Clothing, founded by Notre Dame alum Ge Wang. You've seen ESQ and all your favorite Notre Dame players and coaches, from All-Americans to all pros and associates to CEOs. You're in great hands with ESQ's custom clothing. Whether you're looking for the perfect fitting suit, a standout sport coat, or a perfect tuxedo for wedding galas, ESQ's Master Tailors blend traditional hand stitching in each garment with Italy and England's best fabrics. Check out Ge's amazing work at esqclothing.com and book an appointment to upgrade your wardrobe today. Mention ISD and get 10% off your entire purchase. That's esqclothing.com. First of all, mea culpa. I apologize to everybody. Last week, I didn't get the pod up on Apple and Spotify. What happened is I set it all up and it was loading, and I got up from the computer, and in my mind, I had submitted the file and everything to the correct places, and I actually hadn't done that. So that's a very very technical error on my part. So I apologize for that. So that is my apology for the day. Jamie, will you apologize for the disgraceful curling situation that's going on with the Canadian teams? You can't touch the stone after the hog line. You can't touch the stone after the hog line, Jamie.
Wow, I'm man, you're really technical here.
It's just it's a disgrace in the community. Will you apologize for the Canadian national curling team?
I'm not going to apologize because I don't like that guy.
The Swedish guy?
No, I don't like the Canadian guy.
Oh, got it.
The Canadian guy, whatever. My wife and I enjoy watching curling during the
everyone does
that thing. We've actually and to the point that like a couple of Olympics ago, we're like, hey, there's the Scotties, which is the women's Canadian championship, and there's the men's championship, the Briar, and we watch those now. Like when they come on, like annually, right? I don't like this team, the Canadian team. It's not the Canadian team that we wanted to win, and that guy has a bad rep. The guy who like went off and was acting like he was a hockey player or football player or whatever. It's like, buddy, it's curling. You're losing it here. Like, what are you gonna fight this guy? Relax. Like, it was a bad look. It's a bad look. You know, I support Canada. I hope they win. That's great. But I didn't like that guy, so I can't apologize for him. There's no excuse. There's no excuse.
They're also touching the stone. Like, they are doing what?
Yeah, that guy 100% is doing it. So whatever. Like, whatever. Rip that guy. Go ahead and rip him. I'm all for it.
Yeah. My favorite event, we were watching it last night, is the long track 500 meters, where it's just one lap around. It's just such a fun event. And I have to say, this year with the Winter Olympics, with all the drone stuff they got going on, it changes everything. They got the drone behind the skiers. It's just like you could, like, you're in it, you're in the event while they're doing it. It's awesome. So I think the coverage has been fantastic. And just like kind of highlighting the sports and how difficult it all is. And, it's very good for the athletes and everything. So I've had a good time with the Winter Olympics, and I hope everyone else
Big Air, It's the slope style stuff. I love that kind of stuff. I think it's great.
Yeah,
All the X Games stuff that they put into the Olympics, great move.
yeah,
Great move.
yeah. It's a good call. It's a very fun product for everybody. Like we mentioned at the top of the show, Malachi Fields was just like Daniel Jeremiah dropped his mock draft like 5 minutes before we started recording, so we'll talk about it here. He had Jeremiah Love 9 to the Chiefs, which would obviously be great for Pat Mahomes. And it would be very fun for Jeremiah Love to work with Andy Reid, who's obviously one of the best play callers in the game. And he can always design things. And obviously, you have a chess piece like Jeremiah Love. That would be very fun. 26, Malachi Fields to the Bills. I mean, he's been rising. He's been rising up the boards. I mean, he is one where, specifically for him, it's a bummer that Notre Dame was not in the playoffs because he could have been shown on a big stage, kind of, having the opportunity to make some plays in the playoff run. That obviously didn't happen for Notre Dame, but he showed really well at Senior Bowl, and that always gets people excited. I think he'll test really well. We talked about this, I think, last week sometime. Like, I think he's going to test well. I think he'll jump well. I think he'll run fast, and he's already big. So as long as he catches the ball well, I think there's some traction here, Jamie.
Yeah. First of all, I mean, I was surprised by that he was there, but yeah, like you said, that's stuff that he's hearing. So would be awesome if he could sneak into the late first round. Obviously, how he tests and all that kind of stuff, that kind of stuff does matter. But the fact that he did so well at the Senior Bowl, I think really, really, like, when you impress in person, and there's a buzz, like there's a positive buzz going on about that. I do think that, like, because Notre Dame didn't play as many big games during the regular season this year, that like you said, he didn't get highlighted as much. Like, the scouts didn't show up as much for those games. There just wasn't enough of those games.
Yeah.
And then even if you look at, like, say, the USC game where, I was there was, a ton of scouts there, probably like 23 teams were there at that game. That was like CJ Carr's, maybe his worst game of the season. It was not a great weather day. He wasn't highlighted none of the receivers were highlighted in that game. So yeah, I think the buzz would have been building about him way before. And it's awesome that it's building. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good stuff for him. I think, like you said, even in the A&M game, like, I thought he looked good in that game. I mean, obviously he made a couple of key plays in that one. So that's that's great for him. So it'll be interesting to track his progress, kind of going forward and everything. Again, it brings up the questions of whether Notre Dame got as much as they could out of him. We've kind of addressed it before. It's just like, again, they had such a good offense with their running backs and everything, and they were able to spread the ball around. Like, I think you could say that for a lot of guys. Like, I think people feel like Eli Raritan, Notre Dame didn't get enough out of him. It'll be interesting to see how he does in draft prep and everything, just because I think that he's got, I know that he looked good in the practices of his all-star game there. It's just like they had a lot of weapons, that they had to kind of sift through. And when that's the case and you have two running backs, you can just hand them the ball. You're not going to get big numbers for players. Do you think it would matter if Notre Dame got a wide receiver into the first round, Jamie? Especially because it's one of these transfer guys who it's like you want to attract that type of player into the program. Like, they got Quincy Porter and they got Mylan Graham. These are two Ohio State wide receivers. So that's a big deal in itself. Do you think it would be a big deal for Notre Dame to get a Notre Dame wide receiver in the first round?
I think it would be, because it's one of those things that, people say, well, we're not negative recruiting. We're just showing you the facts. And when they show the facts of, well, here's how many first round picks we've had. And Notre Dame hasn't had a first round pick since 2016 with Will Fuller, right? In the first, or they haven't had they've only had this many guys, or they didn't have a wide receiver drafted since Claypool was the last one drafted, right? So it's like, yeah, that does matter. Like, so I think all of it. Oh no, wait a second. Skoranek was drafted after him, so technically that was another guy. But but yeah, like, that is one of those things that even then, like, Skoranek, he's a special teams guy. He's like a late round pick. it's a big deal to be a first round. And then the other thing is too is like all of a sudden if you get Fields and you start stacking up guys over and over, because I do think like Faison's going to get drafted. Greathouse will get drafted. I think like things will have to go wrong for them not to get drafted. I don't necessarily think they're going to be high picks, but they're going to get drafted. And then I think, like you said, with some of these young guys, I think some of these guys have a chance to go really, really high. So you start stacking them up. Yeah, it makes a big difference. It helps a lot in recruiting.
Jeremiah had Carnell Tate in the top 10. Do you think he's that good?
I don't necessarily think he's that good. Seems like maybe that would be a little high for him. But I do think he's like close to it. Like I would say he's probably, I would have thought top 15. That's what I would have thought for him.
Because I don't know that there's the athleticism that you see, right? Like I haven't really followed Chris Olave's career, right? And I think Tate's. So I don't know how my impression is that he hasn't been as good as people kind of would have hoped for, I guess, like people in New Orleans. Now that's been like a weird quarterback situation. So
yeah,
kind of that I get it, right? That's why I don't want to get too into the weeds on like how Chris Olave's career has gone. But I feel like Carnell Tate is similar to him. And
Olave, it's actually better numbers than I thought. He's got 1,000 yard seasons in 4 years.
All right, that's good. So I mean, maybe that's fine then. Maybe he's properly picked, But I don't know that. But I guess to the point, like,
but he's not a superstar.
He's not elevating anything. He's making it just fine. Just normal. And just another thing on the draft before we move on to the topic. Like Mendoza has been likened a little bit to Tyler Shuck a little bit in the way that he moves around and everything. I admittedly don't scout quarterbacks, in the NFL and everything. Is he to you? Is he like a consensus? Like this guy? I mean, someone has to get picked first, right? And it's usually a quarterback or whatever. But like, are you as confident in him as what you would say like some of the other quarterbacks that have gone early in previous drafts?
No, not at all. Like to me, it's like how Cam Ward went first. And I mean, I thought Cam Ward was a really good quarterback, but I think if he was in other drafts, he's not going first. Like like in the draft where they had, the Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, McCarthy, all those guys draft. He's like maybe going to the bottom end of that, I would say, right? Not that he wouldn't be a first round pick. He might still be, but like just wouldn't be, at the top there. And like, I think there's obviously a difference. Like there's a difference when Andrew Luck is the number 1 pick or Caleb Williams is the number 1 pick. And I think some years it can, and obviously can differentiate. And you look at like Pat Mahomes was like 10th. And now that looks like the dumbest thing of all time that he wasn't the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
Josh Allen wasn't the number 1 pick or whatever. So yeah, it can happen, but I just don't see Fernando Mendoza and think like, man, this is a guy who's going to be like a guaranteed franchise quarterback. I think he could be really good, but also I don't think he's going to go into a good situation. It's like one of those things. It's like he was good at Cal. He was good at Cal.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a lot better at Indiana when he was surrounded by better coaching, better talent, and all that. Now he's walking into a situation where I think he's going to, Kubiak, I think, is a good play caller and stuff, but they're not going to have a good team. Like he's going to get beat up. And when guys go into those situations, it's hard to get out of. It's hard to dig out of that hole. So, and I don't know if like he's the type of talent that like he's going to elevate everybody else around him. I just, I don't see it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see it.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to track that. I kind of agree with you. It's just weird how these guys, they go from, he was at Cal and then he goes to Indiana and now suddenly they're successful. And it's like, oh, actually he's the number 1 pick and he's the number 1 pick and he's like surefire number one pick. Like everyone kind of knows like that. It's just crazy how that jump kind of happens. Let's get into the storylines for Notre Dame going into the spring. What was one of your five? What are the top five storylines? It doesn't have to be in any kind of order. Let's just go through it.
Well, one was the tight end position, and because I think it's one of the positions where there isn't like a set, like the guy who has the most experience returning from last year, Ty Washington, might not even be the second tight end this year. So he could be, maybe he could be tight end one, but it's up in the air. I think it's the position that's open that is the most wide open out of all those positions. And we mentioned it with Mike yesterday that I think my money would be on James Flanagan emerging as being that guy. I'm a believer in his talent. Also, that he was like already kind of pushing last year. But I do think it's like really interesting because I want to see like where's Cooper Flanagan at? Like how healthy is he? Where is all of a sudden he going to come back? And now it's like, wow, he's this many months removed from that Achilles injury. Where's he going to be? Like, are we going to come out of spring saying that Notre Dame embarrassment of riches at tight end? Wow, they're loaded, they're looking great, whatever. Or are we going to say, oh, one guy is so much further ahead of everybody else? Like, what are we going to say at the end of it? I would lean towards like, we're going to say, wow, the depth here is really good. They got some good players here, but we got to wait and see how it plays out.
Where do you think Ty Washington fits into all that?
I mean, to me, I think that he's probably the tight end 3. I would just, in my opinion, based on what I've seen from him at Arkansas and at Notre Dame, I do think he's a better receiver because he wasn't really featured, obviously, as a receiver. He's a better receiver than what he was obviously used as. But is he a good enough receiver that he's going to be someone that they want to feature the way that they featured Eli Reardon, with all the receiver talent that they're going to have? I don't know. Like that to me is like, it's definitely debatable whether or not that can happen. And I think he was a fine blocker, but if you were going to say, who do I think is a better blocker between him or both Flanagans, I would say the Flanagans, I think, are going to be better blockers than him. So that's why if I was going to just choose it right now, I would say he's probably tight end 3 out of that group.
Yeah.
And to me too, like Jack Larson, no one is talking about him as a thing because they're always like, okay, well, Premer's going to come in when he's in the summer. Friesel, no one's expecting him to play this year. Obviously, he's got to physically develop and he's got technical development to do. But no one's talking about Jack Larson. And I think there's a reason for it because he has to be able to show that he can block at a certain level. And he needs to be like that much better of a receiver than everybody else, I think, to really elevate. So that's how he kind of gets himself in the mix. And I don't know if he wouldn't be above Ty Washington. Like, I do think that it's close enough that I think there's going to be a battle there. But I think it says something that Ty Washington came in the summer and he came in the summer and, Jack Larson was already here the year before, and he couldn't do that. Obviously, Washington's older than him. There's differences there. He's had more experience, but Larson never put himself to be in that mix. So is Larson going to be, it's kind of a now or never kind of situation for Larson. He's got to do something. And I just really think both, Cooper Flanagan and James Flanagan are guys that are like, these are future NFL guys. They're going to do that. And to me, I would say those two are probably going to separate themselves.
Yeah. I think the question for Washington is, can he be a better blocker than those guys? And I think that's his path to playing time a lot, and like you said, Cooper Flanagan's always been good at it. So there's that piece. James Flanagan has shown the ability to be good at it. Obviously he was a freshman last year. So he'll have a lot more opportunities in the spring. But Ty Washington also, like, it's his second year in the program, and I think that makes a big difference, right? He is kind of learning the ropes last year, and now he gets to be, he's been around the team for as long as he has. I think that'll help him. And I think that if he can, I think if there's a little bit more twitchiness, I felt like he was a little bit twitchier at Arkansas than he was at Notre Dame. And I think if he gets that back, then I think he's viable as a player that can get on the field. It's super interesting position because Premer, I feel like they think, okay, that's going to be a thing when he arrives in the summer. And so how the top 3 shake out again, or the top 4 with Jack Larson as well, like that's going to be interesting. And I think there's a situation here where I think they know that they're going to be good at the tight end, but where exactly? Like, who is it going to be? And I think that's kind of true of running back as well. It's a very similar thing. This is why I said, like, I think this is a super interesting spring, just from certain position groups, like there's talent. Who is it going to be that emerges coming out of the spring? And again, we talk about it all the time. Like, spring is one thing, has one energy, and the fall has another energy, and that's a different thing. But I think the fact that these are guys who are not like dedicated, like linebacker to me is Madden Framo, and that's kind of it, because everyone else, they've been through it. So they don't have to have good springs, but I think tight end, I think running back is one where it's like, no, these guys are going to be going hard because there's positions available.
I think to your point too, I think one of the things is, as we mentioned, Fields being a potential first round pick. Love obviously is going to be a first round pick. Jadarian Price is probably the second, going to be the second running back off the board. Billy Schrauth was getting love from Daniel Jeremiah earlier this week. Emil Wagner, he's got a really good shot at being drafted. Eli Raridan's probably going to get drafted. Like, I mean, I would be shocked if he wasn't drafted, but I think like that's 6 guys right there that are NFL picks that are leaving your team. So in a lot of ways, I think it reminds me a lot of, on offense this spring, it reminds me of 2024 on defense, where, hey, they were losing Marist, they're losing JD Bertrand, they were losing I guess JJB, right? Like they had guys who were like frontline guys for them that are gone, right? And those these other guys have to step up, right? Well, Cam Hart, right? Like that's if you look at it, that's like a lot of talent that you're losing there.
Yeah.
And then there were guys like Bowen and Osbury and Snead and KVA and Boubacar and all these guys who were like, okay, the young talent, these guys have to kind of step up now. And that's, it's more of like a changing of the guard. Obviously they have talent there to replace it, but it's like, it's pretty big that this spring is like a big way to kind of differentiate and for these guys to kind of like separate themselves from the pack.
Yeah. Let's go on to mine. I have Mylan Graham and Micah Gilbert as 2, like, wide receiver, yes, but like these 2 guys I think are just like tracking how they're developing, because Micah Gilbert's been in the program, but he's been hurt. And so he's been kind of hampered by that. Last spring, he was I've said Micah Gilbert last spring, and then he broke his hand on like the first drill of spring and missed everything, and I think that kind of set him back. And then also Malachi Fields kind of set him back too. So because he was obviously a very good player. So him and I think Mylan Graham, because I don't know what Notre Dame's getting from Quincy Porter, right? And I don't think anybody does. I think we should get some kind of update on that soon, because I believe all the newcomers are going to be talking to the media over the next 3 weeks. So that'll be interesting to see what kind of he says about that and where he's at. But I don't think Notre Dame wants to bring in 2 transfer receivers and not get like starter value out of them, especially with someone like Mylan Graham. Like, I think Mylan Graham, he's new, yes, and he has eligibility, but this is his 3rd year in college. Like, he's probably thinking like, okay, it's time for me to move. And I want to see where that is. Like, is it at the field? Is it to the boundary? Will they move him to the boundary? We talked about this. Like, he's about the same size and stature as DeVaris Daniels, who played the boundary at Notre Dame. So it's not like someone his size and build can't do it. So I'll be interested to see where he's playing. I think those 2 guys, like Jaden Greathouse is proven. Jordan Faison is proven. right? These two guys are the next two who I feel like have the best chance to be Notre Dame's 4-player rotation. Like, these are our 4 that are playing big snaps every week. I think they have a good chance of that. What is their progress? Because it matters to me. Like, I almost put Elijah Burris in this one, but I think it should be not as expected from him as it would be these other two. And that's why, like, if Notre Dame's going to be an explosive passing team, these two guys specifically, and it kind of needs to, in my opinion, it kind of needs to be both of them, because they're the ones that can. I think Micah Gilbert can stretch the field. I definitely think Mylan Graham can stretch the field. So how these two players are playing over the spring and what their progress is and what the excitement level that the staff has in them is going to be very important to me.
I love that too, because I think that kind of goes in tandem with one of the ones that I did, because I was going to highlight Elijah Burris, Cam Williams, and Kadon Finley, because I think those guys, like, it's not like a necessity, obviously, that Kadon Finley, well, he's got to be ready to play this year or whatever, or Burris, he's got to be ready to do this or that, or Cam Williams, yeah, it's kind of it's time. He's got to be able to kind of take a step this year. But those guys are talented guys who, if you said right now, they're on the outside. They're on the outside of what you would think the top group at receiver would be. Well, can any one of those guys, or all of them, or multiple, whatever, can those guys break in and pass somebody?
Yeah.
You don't think, like, because I think it's possible, right? Like, it's definitely possible. And that is something that I think, going to monitor and kind of see where they're at there, because Notre Dame has rarely ever had where you've seen the guys on the second team, the second and third team, were like, oh man, this guy is just like, he's so good. Like, he's got to play at receiver. That is like, it happens sometimes at corner, at other positions. That is not a regular occurrence at Notre Dame at receiver. It hasn't been in a long time, maybe ever, really, because
Right.
even if you think about, like, the Holtz years, it's like even the guys who were studs were the guys who were like, well, he caught 18 passes, like, it was a different era. So it wasn't like, there was where, like, I guess you could say maybe if you go to like 2015 and say, okay, 2015, Equanimeous St. Brown, where you're like, man, you're hearing a lot of good things about Equanimeous St. Brown, but it's like, he normally plays a freshman, but it's like they got too many other vets in front of him. It's just like he can't.
It's like Will Fuller. You gonna take him off the field?
Yeah, it's like Will Fuller, and then obviously they had like Carlisle and Hunter and Chris Brown, and they were deep, right? Like
Corey
they had Corey Robinson, right? Like it was going to be hard for someone to break through. But you kind of knew that, EQ, like, he was coming in, he would have been in other years, he would have played as a true freshman, right? So, yeah, our one or more of those guys going to kind of break through.
Do you how important do you think I just kind of feel like Graham is like super important. I don't know why. I maybe I'm just so excited that he's on the roster. Like, I remember when he was being recruited, and I was like, God, they need that skill set. Not they need someone like him. And it's like, they can't land him. And it was like, it's just been a problem. And now he's on the team. I just feel like he is. I don't want to put too much on it because this is just like peak spring speculation, but I kind of feel like he's the key to everything. Like, I feel like he's the key to a lot. I think he unlocks a lot, and what Notre Dame can do in the passing game and what they can get out of CJ Carr. I feel like he's a guy that maximizes CJ Carr, and I feel like CJ Carr can make guys like Great House better. He can make a guy like Faison better and enhance them. I feel like Mylan Graham is the type of guy that can enhance Carr. And so that's why I kind of feel like he's a super big deal. Like I'm very much monitoring everything that Mylan Graham has going on.
I mean, I think he has that kind of talent, but at the same time, I'm a little bit wary of saying like he's the key to everything because I know that he probably was. There's a very good chance he was going to be, and he was competing at the very least to start
Yeah.
at Ohio State this year, but he didn't. And I know they're loaded at receiver, but he didn't really break through at all. In we redshirted 1 year, but he didn't break through at all last year. Like there wasn't really any like if you look at say like Marvin Harrison Jr. for example, it's like, well, I mean he couldn't play because there was like first round guys in front of him, and then all of a sudden it's like, but he caught like 9 passes and 7 of them for touchdowns or something like that, right? Like it was,
and he got a chance to play in the bowl game and he went insane.
Yeah. So and there were obviously points of the season where Jeremiah Smith and Cornell Tate were injured. And it wasn't like, well, Graham looked great in those games and really stood out. So it's like, I just don't want to put that on Graham until I kind of see more of it and we start hearing like, oh, this is happening. Because one, I think people discount how good Faison is and that he's like, he is really, really good. And yeah, I think Graham is different than him, but it's like, we got to see it. We got to see it. You're going to be going against really good corners. You got to start doing it in practice, and then I'll get on the hype train.
For sure. I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait on February 17th. I'll wait later when it's more appropriate to do so. Right now, I'm trying to get excited. Coach Hump, referring to the wide receivers. Question for Jamie and Greg. In basketball terms, positionless is becoming more and more prevalent. Am I wrong to suppose that can or will become a thing at wide receiver when it comes to X, Y, or Z?
No, I don't think he's wrong in that. Like, yeah, there are with how motion and how much pre-snap stuff there is, and how finding like hunting matchups and like playing guys in different spots, just certainly to get a matchup. Like you have to know. It's very hard to play in Notre Dame's offense if you don't know like all 3 spots. Like you have to know them. Like you don't have to be an expert at being a slot, but you have to know like, hey, if I'm getting here, if I'm running an option route here or something, like this is what I got to do in this circumstance. So I think it is a little bit of that, but I think positionless fits more on defense, where it's like you have to constantly adjust to things where it's like, okay, well, originally the call said I was going to have this guy, and it's like, well, we had to check out of it, and now I got to be, I'm playing hook curl instead of this or that, right? Like it's different to me in defense because it's like a linebacker has to be able to do, or like a safety has to be able to do multiple different things. Like they have to do multiple different things. It's a little bit different, I think, because even when you're talking about positionless things for basketball, it's mostly defense that we're talking about. It's like, well, he can guard 1 to 4, right? Like he can guard all those positions, and it's just not quite the same on offense. So it's a little bit, I guess, because it's got to know, but it's not quite the same to me.
I think it could happen. It could happen if they had, like, if Mylan Graham was a junior and he had been at Notre Dame this whole time. Then I think you could do it because he's been in the program. But there's not that third, like if Malachi Fields was coming back, that you would keep him on the boundary. But you know what I'm saying? Like if you had a third player with the experience of Faison and Greathouse, then I could think you could mismatch them around because they've all been in the program enough. I don't know that that's true. They don't have that third guy where it's like, we can put you on the boundary here, and now you'll be to the field, and now you'll be in the slot and trips. Like, I think it's possible because of the skill set. I don't know that it's possible, to your point about the knowledge of the offense. I think that's kind of the hard part for them. But I think the skill set lends for it. So again, it'll be interesting to track on that front. What's your next one, Jamie?
My next one is the offensive line, and it's highlighting like Gerby Lambert, Will Black, and Maddie Augustine, because I think, and it's a little bit what I briefly talked about with Power Hour with Mike yesterday, is that the fact that Charles Jugusah, we don't really expect him to be, if he's available in the spring, it's probably going to be either limited or towards the tail end or something like that. Like, from our understanding, he's not like ready to go. So that spot, and to me, obviously, he's been out long enough. You can't count on him for anything. You can't count on him until you know that he's in and he has practiced for weeks and weeks and weeks. And you're like, okay, he's the same guy. You can't count on him for anything. So that means to me that right guard spot is wide open right now. And if Jugusah is able to come back, maybe that means that someone who steps up right guard, maybe that left guard is going to be open as well. And what are you going to do with right tackle? And there's multiple options that they could do, right? Like, I do think Gerby Lambert's going to move back out to right tackle, but it's not out of the question that they say, well, we think Maddie Augustine is going to be the best guy for their right tackle. We're going to keep Gerby at right guard, and that's how we're going to do it. And we want to have him there. Or you say, well, Gerby's going to be there. Will Black, this is why we were working you at guard, so then you can be here. Or that Will Black isn't actually just, okay, it's time to move you back out to tackle because we think this is your best spot, right? So I think there's a lot of that is kind of up in the air, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see some like mixing and matching and all that, because that's kind of what spring's about, is finding out who's best for these spots. And I mean, to be honest, we probably won't see it. We'll probably hear about it. They're probably not going to show us too much of that during the spring, but I do think it's like interesting because Black and Augustine in particular, we already know Lambert is going to be a starter. He's going to be a starter. It's going to be where.
Yeah.
It's going to be where. And can Black or Augustine make that jump into, oh, these guys need to be starters, or they're right there. They're right there. And will those guys, like, can they go out and earn it? And I do think, we always talk about, well, this raises the ceiling of this or whatever, right? And which, I'm guilty of it. We're all guilty of it. To me, it's kind of like we probably say it too much. At the same time, we understand that those guys are talented.
Yeah.
And that, like, and when you haven't seen them and you think, oh, this guy was a highly, or we've been hearing a bunch of great things about this guy. So if one of those guys like pushes themselves into it, I think it's a little bit like one of those things where like Anthony Knapp beat out Tosh Baker. Well, one, they were like, it's close right now, and we think Knapp is going to get better. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's how you can view it too. And I think that is a real thing.
Well, it's like we think Anthony Knapp is good, and we don't think Tosh Baker is good.
Yeah. Or you think, hey, they're around the same right now. Anthony Knapp's going to keep getting better each week. And we're like,
yeah,
Baker's leveled up. Like, yeah. So
I'm going to caveat this for you. Okay. You are not the coach. All right. Jamie is not the coach. Do you have a preference? Just based on whatever? Like, because I think everyone kind of has like I kind of hope it's this, based on kind of nothing, just their own kind of intuition or whatever.
Oh yeah. Like everybody who's putting everyone in the comments every week who's like, Anthony Knapp should be the center. Or
right. So do you have a preference?
I mean, my preference would be that Will Black wins one of those jobs. He's either the right tackle or the right guard, or left guard or whatever.
You just think he's good enough.
I just think that like I think he came in in the summer
Yeah.
Last year, awfully tough to come in the summer and really push yourself. He's already looked good since he's been on campus. He was a 5-star for a reason. He's gifted. He's a big, strong guy who's extremely athletic, and not to get into ceiling again, but I think he has the highest ceiling out of maybe anyone on the entire line. Like, if I was going to say, well, which of these guys here do I think has the best shot at being a top, beating Joe Alt, a top 5 pick, I would say, well, it's Will Black for me. So that's why I would say we'll lean towards Black.
It's like ceiling, but who's going to be the best player eventually? Right? That's fair.
Sure.
We don't have to say ceiling, but like eventually he's going to be the best player out of all these players, right? And maybe he's not there now, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you say, okay, we're going to let you build into that. And maybe the schedule this year allows for that in a way that last year would not have, with Miami and Texas A&M leading the thing. They didn't have that same situation, but you know what I'm saying? Like you could, if you wanted, you could say, okay, we're going to live with your growing pains in the first 4 weeks or whatever it is, and we'll see where it goes from there. I think that's fair to say. My next one's is like nickel. Who's playing nickel? Who's even out there trying to do it? Right. I think if we hear it's like Dallas Golden and it's Christian Gray, or it's kind of hard too, because DJ McKinney could also be one of them. And he's not going to be around. So that's interesting. But is it Dallas Golden? Which one of the freshmen is trying that spot? Do they put Aiden Pouncey over there? Do they try to have him do it? Is it Christian Gray? That, it's been kind of long speculated. Is Christian Gray taking reps at nickel? I personally think Dallas Golden, I've said it before, he can lock down this spot, in my opinion, because I think he has a skill set. I think he has the mental ability to kind of take it on. And I think that it's like I think given the fact that you have a guy like Kari Adams, you have Aiden Pouncey, these are bigger players, right? These are bigger, more physical guys. Dallas Golden in the middle of the field there, being able to kind of, they can put him at safety, right? They like to roll the nickel sometimes at the middle safety, right? Like they like to roll the nickel into the deep half. Like he can play varied roles in that spot. I think it fits his skill set, right? That is something I don't see Christian Gray doing a ton, right? Like it's easy to see him playing man in nickel. It's not as easy to see him like blitzing off the corner. How often have they blitzed Christian Gray in his entire career? I don't know that I even recall one.
When you're the field, you're never
right. Yeah. So it's like he's never really done that, and so it's hard for me to see it. I've seen Dallas Golden do it, right? So to me, it's going to be super intriguing about who even lines up and takes reps at that position, because it's a very important position in the defense.
Super important position. Because as we always remind people, it's a starter. It's not a sub package thing now. It's a starter now. So, and it's been a starter for years now. So, interesting, like Dallas Golden had more snaps as a slot defender than Devontae Smith last year. Obviously because Devontae Smith was out, but still, that's a lot of good. Like he had 230 snaps as a slot defender last season. That's a lot. So, as a true freshman to have that, my money would be on Golden to just, they put him there. They kind of kept him there. And when they made that move, when they took, when Hobbs was struggling and they were like, okay, Golden, you're going to do this now. Yeah. I think you invest that time in there with him. And I thought for the most part, he played really well, especially as a freshman. So, to me, it's very likely it's going to be him, but I am intrigued by what, else they could do to kind of look at it there. And I mean, he's definitely one of these people, because everybody's always excited about the freshman, and not that I'm excited about the freshman too, but people aren't talking about Golden and Zachary. Like they're not talking about those guys.
Yeah.
Or even Sanders, right? Who's coming in too. no one is really talking about them. It's like, yeah, these guys might be studs this year. Like they might be great. Like they could be huge players for Notre Dame this year. That's on the table.
I like that he took number 1 too.
I love it too. I love that.
I think it's weird how these numbers, like, they mean something,
They
even though
do.
they really mean nothing. But I love it. I love that he wears number 1.
I'll tell you what, I don't think we talked about it, or maybe we did, and I just don't remember.
Yeah.
I love Christian Gray going back. Get back to your
29.
old number. Love it. Go back to that number. It was like, why were you messing with it?
Well, I think it was for his grandma. His
is that why he was doing? Okay.
Yeah, I think it was
Okay.
kind of paying homage to her.
Well,
He wore 6 in high school.
Yeah, I knew he
So
was before, but it's like I do like that he was like, man, you played pretty good ball.
it's interesting that but the psychology of saying, like, because he wore it for his grandmother, and when I made the post on Twitter about, like, it just looks better. Like, I don't care. I like it when established, but, like, I didn't like it when Leonard Moore went from 15 to 2. Like, you're established in your number, you should keep it. So I don't mind it when a player is not established and makes a switch. You know what I mean? Like Jordan Faison was 80, but he was just kind of given that number. It's like he didn't get to choose. He got to choose and he went to 6. And it's like, all right, this is my number. Like, Christian Gray wore a 29 freshman, sophomore, and it's like, just keep it, man. Like, you played so much and you played so well. But obviously you go to 6 for the reasons he did. Like, and like, this really, it means nothing in the long run. It, like, matters not at all. But it's the psychology of going back. The fact that he could have just stayed 6, but he decided to go back. I just think that's kind of interesting that he made that move. And I wonder, like, what kind of went into that for him. It's like, maybe for him, it was like, okay, I need to be in 29 again. And I think that's kind of an interesting little wrinkle to this. What's your next one, Jamie?
My next one is the freshmen. Just in general, like the early enrollees. Like who's going to really stand out and show like they're too good to keep off the field? Because really the only position, like I highlighted last week, 6 thoughts, that the only real position where there is like a golden opportunity to say like, hey, a freshman will play here is Rodney Dunham at end. Not just because he's a 5-star top 10 guy in the class. I mean, obviously that helps, but more so if you look at like the depth there at end, it's like it's right there for him to crack the rotation. It's like if he doesn't, it's because like he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready for it. But everybody else, it's like, so Joey O'Brien and Aiden Pouncey, Kari Adams, those guys shouldn't play based on the players that are in front of them.
Yeah,
they shouldn't. Just there's enough talent there to say those guys, they don't need them. You know, like if everyone stays healthy, right? They don't need them. Well, unless they just are just so friggin' good that it doesn't matter. And I always think it's different because they're even deeper, much deeper now than they were back in 2019 with Kyle Hamilton. But it's like, just imagine Kyle Hamilton coming in the summer and it's like, okay, well, you have a Louis Gilman and Jalen Elliott returning, and they were both very, very good in 2018. Like they were like outstanding. Maybe one of the best duos coming back, starting safeties in the country for 2019. And then Kyle Hamilton comes in and he's 5 interceptions a day, whatever. He's just destroying it. And they're like, this guy needs to also be like, well, it's going to be a 3-headed monster now because he's just that good. So can any of those guys do that? Can Kaden Finley like be one of those guys that does something? Can one of these others, all of a sudden, Devin Fitzgerald, all of a sudden you're like, whoa, Devin Fitzgerald. Is there a surprise there, right? That you don't know. I mean, not that I expect any of the offensive linemen to really, step up and do anything.
Yeah.
But that would be very unlikely. But Anthony Knapp was unlikely. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay. So, and it might just mean that they're in the 2 deep, but still it would be a big deal if like, all of a sudden Grayson McKeo's like, yeah, oh yeah, he's in the 2 deep. Like he deserves to be there. It's not by
Yeah.
default. So, running back, right?
Yeah.
Javian Osborne and Jonas Walton. Like those are 2 guys that it's like there's going to be an opportunity there. So, I think just kind of all around, there's just there's not real opportunities for guys other than that. Even for those guys, it's not like a clear path because you're like, the guys are bringing back are like, I think they're pretty good. And you would say it's more likely that they keep those spots unless those guys prove to be just like, they come in and just like, man, this guy's too good to sit right now. So, and that's like super exciting to me because you never want to see somebody they have to play because it's like, well, they don't have anybody else.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit like that last year. And it's not to say that Zachary and Golden weren't talented. They are talented. But if they were kind of coming into a different situation, they probably wouldn't have just played. Like it's just they didn't have anybody else. They were the next guys up. And then they had injuries, so those guys had to play. So where are those guys at? I think that's going to be really, really, important to watch.
Yeah, there was unfortunately a too big of a gap between Moore and Gray and like the next ready player. Like Carson Hobbs obviously wasn't ready. He was not even in the program anymore, and they tried him at nickel and that was going to be there because I point out like Carson Hobbs, playing against Miami and A&M was like, I mean, because they took him off the position like right after that, so obviously that was a misevaluation of sorts, but also it makes sense. Like Dallas Golden wasn't ready. He wasn't ready to do it yet, and he showed at times during the year, not against Miami and not against Texas A&M when it's like, yeah, he struggled at times. Like he played well against USC, but he also like had really rough moments, and I think that is part of, what went into that, right? And that doesn't exist this year because another part is like, yes, the freshman, but also like Jaden Sanders.
Yeah.
Like he's super interesting. He could play that nickel spot. I didn't even list him. Like I think it could be him. So I kind of put him into this because he is the same kind of he's the same grade as Golden and Zachary. Like what is Mark Zachary, like his development? Like what is that? Like I feel like he is of everyone, he is like the most overlooked kind of soon to be like sophomore, where it's like he played last year and he played well at times. He had like a rough moment against A&M and he had a couple rough moments against Purdue. I feel like after that, he was just showed a ton of improvement and a ton of growth and the physical ability to play the position. It's like, where is he at? Like, I think that's super important. You talked about the running backs. I think Walton and Osborne have a chance there. I mean, the running back position, I mean, just like that would be my last one. It's super intriguing. Who is playing the best? Who is doing what? Is there a third down back? I think just because Sider had Love and Price, it was like, I'm definitely riding them no matter what. The year before, he had Allen and he had Nick Singleton. I'm going to ride those guys. It doesn't mean he's always going to do that. I think he has a lot of guys who, like Aeneas Williams, he knows can play and he knows he can get them on the field. But that doesn't mean that Kedron Young and Nolan James aren't also showing something where it's like they also need to play. It doesn't mean Javion Osborne won't show something. It's like they need to get on the field. And I don't think any of these guys will be so much better than the others that they can't get snaps from them is kind of how I see it.
Yeah. And I think that that third down piece is so interesting because obviously that was such a defined thing for Dale McCullough.
Yeah.
And to have that, and Aeneas Williams is like, I mean, he's just a fit to play that at all times. So maybe they don't even worry about it. And it's like, well, he's always going to be there just no matter what. Right. But Um, yeah, Price and Love were just so good and so explosive, and they added such a dynamic element to the running game that if somebody comes in and they are showing that more than somebody else, it's hard to ignore that. It's really, really hard to ignore that. Like, that's the kind of thing that can get you onto field. Just kind of like the same thing, like you were saying with Mylan Graham. If Mylan Graham comes on, it's like, well, the receivers are looking good, but man, Graham has made like 4 plays in the last 2 days in practices where it's just like, just explosive plays.
Yeah.
That really kind of ups his stock. And I go back to last year's spring, and I just think about this. It was just like a regular RPO play. Cam Williams beats, I can't remember who it was, on a slant. It's going to be like a 60-yard house call if he catches it, drops the ball. But that is the kind of thing where all of a sudden it's like the next day, Cam Williams is like, hey, let's give Cam some reps with the ones. Like that. That is how stuff works in on a football team. And when you drop that, then it's like, nah, he's not ready. Like, you got to be ready for your moments. You got to be able to take advantage of that.
Yeah. So it'll be very interesting to track at all those positions. It's a fun spring. Like it really will be a fun spring in terms of just who is playing where and who is getting reps at what position and you know, who is impressing people. Like, I think this is one of those springs where I think people will be happy to say, oh, this guy looks good at running back. You know, this guy, because some springs, everything's kind of tightened up. And like, what were we going to hear last year? You know who looks good? Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. Like, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
No, like, you know, no S, you know, like they definitely look good, but you know, who looks good at tight end? Like all the positions we talked about, who looks good at nickel? It's going to be very interesting. So we will track it here for Irish Sports Daily. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We can end it there. Have a good rest of your day. We'll be back on Thursday with more football talk, Notre Dame football talk. And I think there's going to be some interviews Wednesday. There's going to be new players talking on Wednesday. Hopefully we can be able to recap for everybody. So thanks for everyone for tuning in. We will talk to you soon. Keep hitting and hustling.